All right, so today we're going to dive into a world of absolute giants. I'm talking about massive container ships, sprawling offshore oil rigs. I mean, these are structures the size of floating skyscrapers. And keeping them safe and seaworthy, it's literally one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. But there's a new crew of high-tech assistants that's here to completely change the game.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle why this is so hard in the first place, inspecting the impossible. Then, we'll meet the robotic crew. After that, we'll talk about the humans in charge, because they're still running the show. We'll walk through a high-tech inspection step by step, and we'll wrap up with why the future is data.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Inspecting the Impossible. You know, we're talking about structures that are just colossal, and they're operating in some of the most brutal environments you can imagine. Making sure their sound isn't just a challenge, it's a truly monumental undertaking.
So just think about it for a second. How do you actually inspect a skyscraper that floats? I mean, every single weld, every steel plate, every nook and cranny of a structure that towers stories high and goes deep, deep underwater? Well, for decades, the answer has been pretty grim. You put people in incredibly risky situations.
And when you look at the traditional methods, it's just a laundry list of hazards. You've got inspectors working at insane heights, sometimes dangling on ropes or perched on these massive scaffolds. They have to crawl into dark, enclosed spaces, like ballast tanks, where oxygen is limited. They're doing dangerous underwater dives. And on top of all that, the whole thing requires tons of expensive, time-consuming scaffolding, which means the ship or rig is out of commission, losing an absolute fortune every single day.
So yeah, there had to be a better way. And thankfully, there is. Which brings us right to Section 2. Meet the robotic crew. This is where something called Remote Inspection Technologies, or RITs for short, come into play. Honestly, the best way to think of them is like a specialized team of robots, where each one has a very specific and very dangerous job to do.
All right, so let's meet the key players on this robotic crew. First up, you've got the Unmanned Aerial Vehicle, the UAV. We all know it as the drone. Its superpower? It's the eye in the sky, perfect for exploring those huge, hard-to-reach, high-up spaces. Then there's the Remotely Operated Vehicle, or ROV. This is our deep diver, the one that handles all the risky underwater work. And finally, you have the Robotic Crawler. This little guy is tough, and it's got a super cool trick. It uses powerful magnets to literally climb straight up vertical steel walls.
So the UAV, the drone, is just incredibly versatile. We're not just talking about snapping a few pictures here. This thing can fly into a massive cargo hold or all the way up the side of a flare stack. It's collecting super high-def video and can even take precise measurements in spots that would normally take days and a whole lot of scaffolding just to get to. Now for the ROV, the Remotely Operated Vehicle. This is the real underwater workhorse. It's connected by a tether back to the surface, and a pilot guides it to check out the hull, the propellers, the rudder, all those critical parts that are way below the waterline. And the best part? Not a single human diver has to get in the water.
And the crawler's special skill is just so cool. It can literally attach itself to a steel hull. Doesn't matter if it's in the air or underwater, and it just crawls along. It can carry cameras, sure, but it can also carry tools to take thickness measurements right on the steel plates. That gives the inspectors an unbelievably detailed picture of the structure's health.
Okay, this is super important, and it brings us to Section 3. Now, you might be thinking, great, so the robots are taking over. But it's actually the complete opposite. This is all about technology empowering human experts, and these experts operate under a really strict set of rules.
So every single one of these remote inspections has 3 key human teams calling the shots. First, you have the asset owner. That's the company that actually owns the ship or the rig. They're the client. They go and hire the service supplier. This is the certified tech team, the pros who actually fly the drones and operate the robots. And then, overseeing the whole thing, you have the surveyor. This is the official expert, the impartial ref, who directs the entire inspection and has the final say.
Yeah, and that service supplier, the tech team, can't just be some startup that bought a drone online. Nope, they have to be formally certified under really strict international standards. This whole process makes sure they have the right gear, the right training, and all the safety procedures locked down to do this critical work properly and safely.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. Surveys carried out by remote inspections techniques are to be carried out in the presence of the surveyor. That's the key. A human expert, the surveyor, is always there, on site. They're not watching some video feed from an office 1,000 miles away. They are right there directing the drone pilot, telling the ROV operator, hey, look over there, and making that final crucial call. The robots are just their eyes and hands. The expert brain is always, always human.
So, what does one of these missions actually look like in action? That brings us to Section 4, a high-tech inspection. And let me tell you, it is not just about showing up and flying a drone around. It's a super-structured, very deliberate process.
The whole thing unfolds in 5 clear stages. First is planning. You got to know exactly what you're looking for. Then comes a serious risk assessment to make sure everything's safe. Only then do you get to the operation, the fun part with the robots. After that, all the data gets reviewed right there on site. And finally, everything is documented in the official report.
And during the operation itself, a few things are absolutely critical. Communication has to be crystal clear between the robot pilot and the surveyor. There's always a designated safety watch person whose only job is to look for hazards, and they can stop everything in a second if they see something wrong. All the gear gets checked and rechecked, and maybe most importantly, the data is reviewed in real time, right there, so the surveyor can say, hang on, go back, I need a closer look at that spot. Okay, let's move on to our final section, and honestly, this is where things get really exciting. Section 5, the future is data. Look, the immediate win with these robots is safety, no question. But the long-term payoff, that's something else entirely. It is all about the incredible amount of information they gather.
So here's the twist. You might think that when the drone lands or the ROV is pulled out of the water, the job is done. But in a lot of ways, the real work is just beginning. Because what you have now is this massive, unbelievably detailed digital record of every single inch of that structure.
So what can you do with all that data? Well, for starters, you can build a jaw-droppingly accurate 3D model of the entire thing. You've got a couple of ways to do it. There's LiDAR, which uses lasers to create this super precise 3D point cloud. Then there's photogrammetry, which stitches thousands of photos together to make a model that looks almost real. You can literally get the best of both worlds, perfect measurements and amazing visual quality.
But the next step is where you unleash AI on all this data. Think about it. Instead of a person having to manually look through thousands and thousands of images, you can train machine learning algorithms to do it for you. They can automatically spot potential problems, like, say, a tiny bit of coding breakdown, and flag it for the human expert to take a look. It's way faster, it's more consistent, and it is just so powerful.
So when you put it all together, what you're seeing is a huge shift. These robots aren't just replacing a ladder or a human diver. They are gathering the raw data needed to create a digital twin, a perfect virtual copy of that massive physical asset. It's a twin that you can analyze, stress test, and monitor over time to predict problems before they ever happen. So these robots aren't just making inspections safer, they are fundamentally changing how we protect the giants that power our world.